You know that feeling, right? Sitting in the dentist chair or just seeing a needle and getting that little jolt of dread? A little bit of fear when it comes to pain is totally normal. I mean, it's basically our body's built-in alarm system.
But what happens when that alarm bell just never, ever stops ringing? When that normal, healthy caution turns into this constant, overwhelming dread that starts to run your life? That's the real question, and that's exactly what we're going to dive into.
So let's get right to it. When does that super common fear actually cross the line and become a clinical condition? We need to define what we're actually talking about here.
And here's the word algophobia. Now, look at that definition. There are 3 words in there that are absolutely key. First, the fear is intense. We're not talking about a small worry. Second, it's persistent, meaning it's always there. It doesn't just pop up and go away. And third, and this is a big one, it's often irrational, meaning the level of fear is completely out of whack with the actual danger. Okay, so where does a fear this powerful even come from? Well, it turns out it's not just one thing. It's usually a mix of our own personal history, our brain chemistry, and sometimes even what we've seen other people do. The research points to a few main culprits. For some, it's a past traumatic event, a really bad injury or a painful medical thing that just leaves a scar on your psyche. For others, it's like their dial is turned way up on pain sensitivity, and that gets amplified by anxiety. And sometimes, and this is fascinating, it's a learned behavior. If you grew up watching a parent totally panic about pain, you can actually absorb that response yourself.
And this fear, it's not just in your head. It becomes a whole body experience. Just the thought of pain can set off a full-blown panic response, sweating, shaking, even feeling sick to your stomach. And because that feels so awful, your brain's solution is simple. Avoid, avoid, avoid. Avoid the doctor, avoid the gym, avoid anything that has even a tiny risk of pain. And that creates this vicious cycle of worry and avoidance that just gets worse and worse.
And that cycle of avoidance, it has really serious consequences. It doesn't just keep you safe from pain, it actually allows the fear to get bigger and bigger, creating this ripple effect that can seriously mess with every single part of your life.
You can really see how it happens right here. It starts small. In step 1, maybe you just start putting off dentist appointments or checkups. But then, in step 2, that avoidance gets bigger. You stop exercising for fear of getting hurt. And that leads right to step 3. You start turning down social things, and you become more and more isolated. It all adds up to step 4, where your entire world just gets smaller, your stress is through the roof, and your quality of life takes a huge hit.
Okay, that all sounds pretty bleak, I know. But here's the most important part. It is not a life sentence. As powerful as this phobia feels, there is a clear way forward. You just have to understand that this fear can be managed and, with the right help, completely overcome.
And the approach to recovery is a multi-step game plan. First up, you've got cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. That's all about learning to catch and challenge those automatic worst-case scenario thoughts. Then there's gradual exposure therapy, which sounds scary, but it's about safely and slowly facing these fears, which actually retrains your brain's fear response. Number 3 is all about learning relaxation techniques to manage those physical symptoms we talked about. And finally, for severe cases, medication can help lower that baseline anxiety, making all the other therapies work even better. So let's just wrap this all up. Algophobia is very real, and it's so much more than just being scared. It can trap people in a really tough cycle of anxiety. But the biggest takeaway here is that the cycle can be broken. This thing is treatable. With the right therapy, the right strategies, and good support, it is absolutely possible to shrink that fear and take your life back.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about, not just with algophobia, but with any fear that holds us back. It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? What amazing things could you do? What doors could open if that fear just wasn't standing in the way?